Assalamu alaikum students. Now we are going to start our next topic, that is economic deprivation of the Muslims in India, from your chapter number 1, ideological basis of Pakistan. Before going towards the detail of the topic, I want all of you to please open the books in front of you. Books should be in front of you. Open the page number 8 of your books. Please follow my instructions. Please, again and again I am going to repeat my instructions and you all have to follow them so that the task is going to be easy for all of you. Open the page number 8 of your books, pen in your hand, and now we are going to start. Okay, firstly, glossary. Different words, difficult words are written in front of you along with their meanings. I want all of you to please write the meanings of these difficult words on your books as well. These all words are from your book, from your certain particular topic. First word is oppressed. Oppressed means to burden with cruel or unjust impositions. Acquitted, not feeling guilty for specific offense and crime. When you are not ashamed of your certain act, that is known as acquitted. Wrath. Wrath means extreme anger. Consequences, that is the result of any situation, result of an action or any situation. Prejudice. Prejudice is preconception, your biasness. Enmity. Enmity means feeling of hatred. Deprived, to take something necessary or pleasant from someone. Confiscated, taken or seized with authority. When something is taken from anyone from the authority, that is known as confiscated. Tenant. Tenant means a person who pays rent to the landlords. Calamity. Calamity means disaster. Descended. Descended means to go down. Ruined. Ruined means spoiled or destroyed. Okay, some other words are privileges. Privileges means advantages. Monopoly, exclusive ownership or control of something, which means that there is going to be just only control or only ownership of just one person or just of one industry, that is monopoly. Revolution. Revolution means change. Destruction, act of destroying something. When something is destroyed, when something is damaged, that is destruction. Then you are having the word cottage industry. Cottage industry, students, cottage industry is a small scale businesses or the small businesses that are mostly run from houses. And its particular example are small crafts such as knitting and stitching, etc. And the last word is collapsed. Collapsed means to fall. Okay students, now we are going to start our topic, detail of the topic, that is economic deprivation of the Muslims in India. Again, instructions that the page number 8 should be open in front of you. All of you should have the pen in your hands, please. Okay. Students, you know this thing that in the topics we have to make the different headings as well. So on your first paragraph that I am going to read from your book, please look at your book. The first paragraph that starts with that when the War of Freedom 1857 was over, the Muslims were oppressed badly. On this first paragraph, please write down the heading of background. On your first paragraph, please write down the heading of background. Okay, now we are going to discuss our background. Students, when the War of Freedom was over in 1857, after the War of Freedom, when the War of Freedom was over in 1857, the Muslims were oppressed very badly. The Muslims were suppressed very badly. Why the Muslims were suppressed very badly? Because firstly, during the war, the Hindus were supporting the Muslims. But when the war was about to end, the Hindus declared that all the responsibility of the war was with Muslims. Hindus separated themselves from the responsibility of the war. Hindus supported the Muslims during the war, but at the end of the war, Hindus declared that we were not supporting the Muslims. All the responsibility of the war goes on the burden, goes on the shoulders of the Muslims. Hindus separated themselves from the war. The Hindus acquitted themselves of their responsibility of the war, and all the responsibility was put on the shoulders of the Muslims. As the Hindus separated themselves from the responsibility of the war, what was the result? That the Muslims were at the target of the wrath of the Britishers. The Britishers start targeting the Muslims. And as a result of this all, when the Britishers start targeting the Muslims start facing the many of the different consequences. Muslims suffered from a lot of serious consequences. And what were that serious consequences? That the Muslims have started having the many of the economic crisis. Muslims faced many economic crises. Now we are going to discuss the different economic crises that the Muslims start facing. Okay, now come towards the second paragraph. Along with the second paragraph on your books, there is numbering, and that is the first number. On the second paragraph, please write down the heading, that is deprivation of jobs. I am going to read the second paragraph, first line of your second paragraph, so it will be easy for all of you to write down the heading on that paragraph. The British, dominated by prejudice enmity, dismissed all the Muslims from the government job, especially from army. This second paragraph, please on this second paragraph write down your heading, that is the deprivation of jobs. Now the first problem that the Muslims start facing, what was that problem? That was the deprivation of jobs. Britishers were dominated by prejudice enmity. Britishers were having the feeling of hatred towards the Muslims, so what they do, they just dismiss the Muslims from all the government jobs, especially from the army, and shut the doors of employment for the Muslims. The Britishers stopped giving the good jobs to the Muslims. Despite the Muslims were having the very good qualification, but they were not allowed to have the good jobs. On the other side, Hindus were having the less qualification, but as compared to the Muslims, but Hindus were having the good jobs as compared to the Muslims. What I am saying, I am trying to discuss this thing, I am saying this thing that the Muslims were deprived of their jobs. And why they were deprived of their jobs? You know this thing, that the British start targeting the Muslims. When the Britishers start targeting the Muslims, they just dismiss the Muslims from all the jobs. They shut the doors of employment for the Muslims. Muslims were not having the good jobs, especially in the army or the government jobs. On the other hand, Hindus were getting the good jobs. Muslims were having the good qualification, but they were not getting the job according to their qualification. And the Hindus were having the less qualification, but they were having the good job as compared to the Muslims. After this paragraph, first paragraph, again instructions that you all have to follow, please. Class, we have to make the additional questions for our board preparation in our books as well. So please, on this your second paragraph on which you have written the heading of deprivation of jobs, please, I want all of you to write a question over there, that is that Britishers were dominated by prejudice enmity, explain how. And the answer of this question is your second paragraph that I am going to read from your book, please. The Britishers, dominated by prejudice enmity, dismissed all the Muslims from the government job, especially from army, and shut the doors of employment to the Muslims. Despite having the required qualification for some job, the Muslims were deprived of it. On the other hand, the Hindus were offered jobs even if they had less qualification as compared to the Muslims. Okay, Ji. On the next point, please write down the heading of deprivation of property. I am going to read the first line so that it's easy for you to recognize. The Muslims were deprived of their properties. On this, please write down the heading of deprivation of properties. Along with the jobs, the Muslims were deprived of their properties. All the Muslims' properties were taken by Muslims and were given to the Hindus. The Muslims' landowners were turned out of their lands. The Muslims became the tenant cultivators of their lands. All the properties of Muslims were given to the Hindus. And Sayyid Ahmad Khan has explained this miserable condition of the Muslims in his words that no disaster, no calamity has descended, has come down from the heaven that has not searched the house of the Muslims. After this, the third paragraph, after this, the second point, the next point is, on the next point, please write down the heading, Hindus' monopoly in local trade. The Hindus, the business of the Muslims was ruined. The business of the Muslims was collapsed, was spoiled. Why? Why the Muslims was collapsed? The Muslims' business was collapsed because the Hindus, the Britishers start giving the special business privileges to the Hindus in order to get the support of the Hindus to start giving the privileges to the Hindus. And when they start giving the privileges, special business privileges to the Hindus, Hindus make their monopoly in the local trade in India, and as a result of this, the Muslim traders suffered economic crisis. Okay, moving to the next point. On the next point, please write on the heading of Industrial Revolution. The first line of that paragraph is, as a result of Industrial Revolution in Britain, better and cheaper products were manufactured there. When there was an Industrial Revolution in Britain, better and cheaper products were manufactured in Britain, and that better and cheaper products were start importing to the India. So when these better and cheaper products were imported to India, what was the result? The result was the destruction of the cottage industry of India. As we have discussed in the start, that what are the cottage industry? Cottage industries are the small scale industries that are mostly run in the small houses. When the better and cheaper products of Britain were sent to India, the cottage industry of the Indian collapsed, and the Muslim traders suffered many of the economic crises. After this, the next point is ban on exports. Please write down the heading on your fifth point, that is ban on, and the heading is ban on exports. The goods were produced in Britain and that products were imported to the India, but Indian products were neither demanded in Britain or nor in Europe. Because of this, the exports of the Indian goods was affected, and millions of the Muslims and millions of the people suffered from unemployment. As the export of the India was banned, so many of the people were unemployed, and mostly the Muslims were unemployed, and this was another reason of the economic crisis of the Muslims. So now we are done with this topic. Okay students, after the end of this topic, we have to mark a long question as well that is related to this topic. Please follow my instructions again. Please open the page number 18 of your books. Over there, you are having the questions. Write the answers in detail. Long question number 9, that is the last question. Long question number 9, write the note on the following. Long question number 9, part A, the economic condition of Muslims in India before partition. And the answer of long question number 9A, the economic condition of Muslims in India before partition, its answer is from page number 8 to page number 9. Means your whole topic that we have discussed right now, this is the answer of your long question number 9, part A. Thank you.